gruesome video released by Boko Haram has experts worried that the group has expanded its focus from northeast Nigeria. Disputed land claims rise amid Uganda's oil boom. And pursuing the Hollywood dream, the Queen of Talk is moving on. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. The Nigerian terrorist group Boko Haram has released a video purporting to show the beheading of two men. It is the first online posting from the Islamic sect using advanced graphics and editing techniques similar to videos from Islamic State. However, the video's authenticity or date has not been confirmed. The footage, however, raises concerns that Boko Haram, which evolved out of a clerical movement focused on northeast Nigeria, is expanding its scope and seeking inspiration from international militant networks, including Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan says Boko Haram is linked to both Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. The group previously had links to Al-Qaeda, and although Boko Haram and ISIS have acknowledged each other, the Nigerian militants have not officially pledged allegiance to Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Well, for more on the security situation in Nigeria, VOA reporter Ibrahim Ahmed joins us on the phone from Yola in the northeastern state of Adamawa. Ibrahim, this video has been rather disturbing to many people. What is the reaction in Nigeria?
Well, people have been seeing such a similar video from Boko Haram in the past. This is the first one, as you say, that Boko Haram released online, and it was edited in such a way to show a similarity between its method and that of the Islamic State. But Boko Haram has been doing this kind of killings in the past, especially of people it's suspected of informing the security agencies about its presence.
So in terms of the links with ISIS or Al-Qaeda, is that something that concerns people more than just the fact that they do all these gruesome things?
A lot of people are concerned because in the past, Boko Haram has been linked to the Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb, Aqib in Algeria. That's why it started. But linking up with ISIL is something that is given a lot of people here concern, since that even if the militants are routed out of the big cities and the big towns, they can kind of like go in the hiding or adopt some kind of guerrilla tactics to keep on terrorizing the populace.
Now, let's face it, the elections are now even closer. What has been achieved on the ground? Remember, the government said that it was buying time to kind of defeat Boko Haram. What is happening on the ground?
Well, there have been some successes in routing them out of many areas, but it still remains a big threat. And more especially in the border areas, you know, the neighboring countries, they have been very successful in retaking those areas. But Boko Haram is still strong, and it is still very, very active in these areas. The elections may hold, and as the days go on, people are becoming more confident that the elections will hold on the 28th of this month, March. But taking Boko Haram out of this equation completely is not going to happen, according to almost everybody you talk to.
We know that today Nigerians are facing yet another issue, that is of acute fuel shortages. Tell us how this has affected people's lives every day.
It has been real bad. The official price for gasoline in Nigeria is 87 naira per liter. But on our way to Yola, we had to buy it from the black market at a rate of almost 150 naira per liter, which is very, very expensive. And the buses and car services in Nigeria, they have increased almost double their price because of this fuel shortage. But the thing is, nobody can tell you exactly why there is this particular fuel shortage in Nigeria at this time.
Well, Ibrahim, thank you very much. VOA reporter Ibrahim Ahmed reporting live from Yola in the northeastern state of Adamawa. Now to another region. To step up pressure on the warring factions in South Sudan, the UN Security Council adopted a resolution on Tuesday to possibly impose sanctions if a deal is not reached by Thursday, March the 5th. The unanimously adopted resolution drafted by the United States threatens to blacklist anyone undermining security or interfering with the peace process after Thursday. The resolution says future UN sanctions could include both an arms embargo and the blacklisting of individuals. U.S. officials say they want to take an incremental approach and gradually increase pressure on the warring factions. Speaking to VOA, South Sudanese ambassador to the United States, Garang Dieng Akong, was critical of the sanctions.
We have tried to talk and engage with the Americans, who are the sponsors of the sanctions, to express our view that sanctions will not solve any problem in South Sudan. Instead, keep engaging the parties as it used to do during the Naivasha agreement. And I think the United States has a moral obligation to continue to support South Sudan, continue to support any peace and reconciliation in South Sudan, because South Sudan is a brainchild of the United States and other friends in Europe and elsewhere in the world. So we are not happy with the sanctions. We will continue to object to sanctions.
Well, South Sudanese President Salva Kiir and rebel leader Riek Machar have been meeting in Addis Ababa in an effort to negotiate an end to the fighting. Well, the three West African states hardest hit by the Ebola outbreak asked for help from donors Tuesday to repair the damage to their economies now that the epidemic seems to be waning. Leaders of Guinea, Liberia and Sierra Leone voiced confidence at an Ebola conference in Brussels that they were winning the battle against the disease, but said they must remain focused on stamping out new infections. International donors have pledged nearly $5 billion to help combat the Ebola disease. According to EU officials, although only about half of that has been dispersed so far, Guinea President Alpha Conde called for greater investment in Ebola-hit countries.
The priorities now is 1, getting to a resilient zero, 2, rebuilding our health sector, 3, getting our kids to school, and 4, providing social protection for the most vulnerable and sustaining recovery from Ebola through expanding our fiscal space, restoring agricultural activities, and supporting the private sector.
Well, the World Bank has estimated that the epidemic will cost the three countries at least $1.6 billion in lost economic growth this year, or more than 12% of their combined output. Now, opening statements in the trial of the surviving Boston Marathon bombing suspect are underway Wednesday, one day after a federal jury was selected for the case. If found guilty in the deaths of 3 people during the 2013 bombing, suspect Johar Tsarnaev could be sentenced to death. VOA's Larissa Hoke reports.
3 people were killed and 264 wounded when 2 bombs exploded near the finishing line of the Boston Marathon 2 years ago. Police identified brothers Dzhokhar and Tamerlan Tsarnaev as the attackers. The older Tamerlan was killed days later during a police manhunt. A police officer also was killed. The younger brother, 21-year-old Dzhokhar, was captured and will now stand trial. Boston residents have strong feelings about the case.
Oh, it'll be interesting to see, but it'll be emotionally charged, especially the people who are injured or families who lost ones. Oh my gosh, I think that's just terrible.
To ensure a neutral jury, defense attorneys look for people who are not overly familiar with the case. It was hard this time.
I'm not sure you're going to find anybody anywhere who hasn't heard about it, but will people try to listen to the evidence and based on the evidence? I believe people will do that because I believe the jury system does work.
Having seen the footage of the explosion and extensive media coverage about the suspects, many people in Boston say there is no doubt that the Tsarnaev brothers were the culprits.
Well, he's definitely guilty. There's so much evidence against this character and his brother. And what those two people did to Boston and the United States and the world is incomprehensible. They should be no doubt with the jury.
While most Bostonians believe Tsarnaev is guilty, not all want the death sentence.
I think it was awful what happened, and I think that he should be found guilty, and I think he should spend life in prison contemplating what he did, if he even has a conscience.
Some have even expressed hope that given his youth, Tsarnaev can be redeemed.
I think he prefers to be executed, and I don't think that's right. I think he should be given the time, the rest of his life, to think about what he did and perhaps save himself, in his own thinking so that he can be a better person.
Many spectators at the 2013 race were seriously injured, suffering burns and losing limbs.
It is a tragedy for people who passed away, a tragedy for people who have lost their legs and their limbs, are going to suffer for the rest of their life, for somebody who was influenced by the wrong direction. I just feel for people who are hurting today, the family who has lost their children and the people who are in wheelchair.
Tsarnaev's lawyers are expected to try to prove that Djokar's brother Tamerlan was the driving force behind the attack and that the younger Tsarnaev participated out of loyalty and submissiveness. The trial is expected to wrap up in June. Larissa Ho, VOA News, Washington.
Want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered? Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54 and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Well, coming up, Kenya combats poaching and fights fire with fire. Stay with us.
I am Sheka Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
Wherever you are, Voice of America is on air, reaching more than 130 million weekly, worldwide, in more than 40 languages. Online, social media, and breaking news from around the world. On the go, dozens of new features on popular platforms with new apps and trending topics. Voice of America, on air, online, on the go.
Well, Tuesday was World Wildlife Day, and Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta set 15 tons of tusks on fire in Nairobi in an effort to crack down on ivory poaching and trafficking. All the tusks were from the Kenyan National Inventory, each of them with a mark showing the date of requirement and its weight. Some of them were taken from elephants that died naturally. Some were taken from elephants that were killed due to communal conflict, while most tusks were seized from poaching and trafficking groups. Kenyatta says the burning sends a message to the world to stop buying ivory.
African countries are concerned about the scale and rate of the new threat to our endangered wildlife species. We are committed to combating the menace robustly and persistently until we dismantle the entire vile economy. In order to underline our determination to eradicate poaching, my government shall burn the rest of the stockpile that we have within this year.
Well, since 2007, ivory trading has surged as 25,000 to 35,000 elephants die each year due to poaching. Well, now, for more insight on efforts to conserve wildlife, I'm joined by Jamil Mandima, Director of Program Design and Partners Relationship at the African Wildlife Foundation. Mr. Mandima, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you, Vincent.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. Now, we know that just besides Kenya, there are other countries that have taken similar action. China, Belgium, Czech Republic, France, the Philippines, even the United States have burned ivory and other items to discourage poaching. To what extent is this an effective method?
So, Vincent, the idea behind the bans is to really send a very strong message to the whole world that there should be no commercial value for ivory. The only way across the globe we can win the war against the perpetrators of this crime is to make sure that there is no one contemplating selling ivory in the future.
Mm-hmm. Now, Kenya burnt ivory 2007, 2011, but the demand has remained high. We've still seen that ivory is available in Asian markets, even some parts of Africa. So what does that tell us?
What it tells us is we are really dealing with a bigger issue here, and what we need to start by doing is to really charity at home, to say those countries that still have ivory in their strong rooms should send a message to say whatever we have now we are destroying because we do not intend to pursue this as a line of business. And then meanwhile, there are so many other activities and interventions we are doing across the globe to deal with the issue, across dealing with stopping the killing, stopping the trafficking and the demand, and creating awareness and behavior change over time so that we stop it completely.
How about those countries that actually think that there is a place for culling some of these animals? Is there a legal way of actually going about it and perhaps selling the whatever product that comes out of this wildlife?
That is always a contentious issue when it comes to range countries that believe their populations are healthy. But we need to stop and think about it at the global level, where we are saying, for the good of the global community, the African elephants are threatened. And it is time for those countries that have done a judicious work to protect their populations to now demonstrate and lead by example by not destroying and sacrificing to work with the rest of the globe to make sure that our population globally is healthy.
Yes. Now, you said charity begins at home, but we know that most of the poaching is done by gangs, extremely violent gangs, very well armed organizations that some have been connected now even to terrorist organizations like ISIS. Is this the local police or whatever armed kind of rangers equipped enough to face this kind of gangs and even terrorist groups?
You raise an important point, and true, it is a transnational organized crime, and it requires something of investment that will fit and be able to be commensurate with what these syndicates are doing. So what is required is really to invest as a global community on ensuring that the security guards, the scouts and the rangers are well equipped with night goggles, with all the kind of firepower that is required to be able to match what these syndicates are doing, and also to follow the product throughout the whole value chain. So once we do the protection in the field, in the range countries, we need to go on to deal with how we manage the ports of exit, which involves various interagencies that are involved in the security, the customs officials, the police, the wildlife officials, and even beyond, including the judiciary.
And of course, you've got to fight the corruption, because corruption does facilitate this. But then Prince William of England has actually been very critical of one of the biggest consumers of ivory, China. And just last month, the Chinese announced a 1-month ban on ivory. That's before he made a visit there. Do you think if more world leaders would actually speak openly about this trade and advocate for the banning of this, it would probably help?
It certainly does help, because what we need to happen is that the global leaders who make policies talk amongst themselves. And what we have seen over the last 2.5 years is China really responding to that messaging. And it is also important that there's not a lot of finger pointing, but rather simply saying, let's get together, let's work on this together. If you look at it, really, China and Africa collaborate at various levels for investments and trade. It is in the interest of Africa and China to really work on this issue together And I think what Prince William is doing to just engage the Chinese is a very welcome gesture, and I hope it grows beyond that. Even the ban that China announced should go beyond just a 1 year, but in the medium to long term, because it takes many years for the elephant populations to recover.
Very quickly, how serious do you think is corruption in undermining the fight against poaching?
It is one of the very serious aspects into this trade. And what we are expecting to happen is as we create awareness and behavior change with more people speaking about the issue on the ground all the way, it sensitizes the decision makers and even the corrupt elements for them to know that there's nowhere to run because the systems are gradually kind of shrinking around them.
Well, Jamil, thank you very much for your insights. Well, Jamil Mandima is the Director of Program Design and Partners Relationship at the African Wildlife Foundation. Well, land disputes are on the rise in Uganda. Police say 10 new cases are being reported each day. The claims come amid an oil boom as investors appear to be cashing in by selling parcels of land to multiple buyers. Meanwhile, the people who have been living on the land for decades are chased away, sometimes with heavy hand. Serginho Roosblad has more from Hoima district in western Uganda.
They say it came as a total surprise. The more than 1,000 people living in a makeshift camp called Ramutonga in the Hoima district in western Uganda say they have been kicked off their land without any warning because it has been earmarked for oil exploration. During early morning in late August of last year, the people woke up to the sounds of chaos and gunfire.
So what they are going ahead with gun and then burning house and then stealing our gold, and they come with a lorry about vehicle. There are 6 like this. Everything which they are looting, some they are burning house, and then we are running away.
According to the police, 10 new cases of land disputes are reported daily, making it difficult to control the situation. But Ramutonga's case is slightly different, according to local government official Ambrose Mwensije. He says there are clear laws and regulating land ownership in Uganda, and that the people of Ramutonga do not have any proof that they either inherited or bought the land or were hosted by the owner. In his reading of the events, the people are used as proxies in a land dispute between what is to him the rightful owner and someone who is, quote, encroaching on the land. However, Ramutonga Helen Ayesiga disagrees. She says the government is not protecting them as it should.
We normally vote for the governing party, but they don't recognize us as Ugandans. We are here suffering. So my appeal is that the government should come and assist, because soon they will rush for votes, but they don't recognize us as Ugandans. Why do we even vote?
NAPE is a local grassroots community organization helping people in the oil-rich region of Hoima against exploitation. A few times a week they host a local community radio show offering a platform to victims of land disputes and informing the people about their rights. According to NAPE field officer and radio host Vincent Nyangenya, the story of Ramutonga is not exceptional.
Major complaints about land grabbing. Once they learned that there is oil here, people from different parts of the country, from different parts of the world have come here to Bunyoro to grab our land. They have been buying it cheaply. Others have been conniving with other government officials to grab people's land.
A court judgment that will determine whether the people of Ramutonga can go back to what they call their homelands is set for March 23rd. One thing is sure, if the court rules against them, they will have to pack their belongings again and find a new home. Serginho Roosblad for VOA News, Hoima.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, the wonderfully weird, perfectly secular anti-smartphone. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines.
In Mozambique, a prominent lawyer, Gilles Sistak, is assassinated in the capital, Maputo. In Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta sets fire to 15 tons of elephant ivory to curb poaching. In Egypt, 16 people are injured in a fire at a convention hall in the northeastern part of Cairo. And Addis Ababa expands the airport to triple the number of passengers it handles annually. Finally, in Kenya, Eastern African musicians collaborate to post the popular song to Simame about preserving wildlife.
That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. You know, on this show, we always tell you what time it is, and watches are the hottest trends going. Designers of wearable technology are trying to get in on the market ahead of Apple's iWatch. At this tech show in Spain, all the big players from Sony to Samsung are unveiling their wares. There are now countless waistbands and watches that can track your body's every movement and link to your smartphone. Even fashion houses are jumping in on the trend. Now, guests who will be unveiling their smartwatches very soon. When it comes to tech trends, there's always the appeal of retro. The company behind this gadget believe that a more back-to-basic smartphone is needed to allow people to look up from the screens and enjoy life as it is. The Runcible is being billed as the world's first heirloom electronic. The company calls it the anti-smartphone. The Runcible is based on the Firefox OS, which is completely open source. It will be available later this year. The makers say the cost will be comparable to the price of other premium and locked smartphones. And finally, it's the end of an era. Oprah Winfrey will close Harpo Studios in Chicago this December. She filmed the Oprah Winfrey Show at Harpo for more than 20 years. She's transitioning production for the cable network to a studio in California. Winfrey sold the Harpo Studios property to a developer last year for about $32 million. The city named the street outside Harpo Studios Oprah Winfrey Way in 2011. And in case you're wondering why her studio is called Harpo, that's Oprah spelled backwards. And that's what's trending today. Well, and that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com for more news. Tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC and in the mornings. Today, Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us here in Washington, have a good night.
Music is something that brings people together.
Music educates, it motivates, it's a bridge.
Music. Ali.
On
VOA.
I am Sheikh Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent.